Grace Peters was the embodiment of purity and devotion. At 18, she was a beacon of light in her small church community, known for her active involvement in Sunday school, youth group, and worship services. Raised in a loving Christian family, her life revolved around her faith. Grace's parents, Martin and Laura Peters, were proud of her commitment to Christ. She had big dreams of becoming a surgeon, and her unwavering belief in God gave her the confidence to pursue them. She was close to her best friend, Sarah, who often joked that Grace was too good for this world, but everything changed when she met Daniel Carter. At 23, he was the opposite of Grace. He was charming, arrogant, and a self-proclaimed atheist who scoffed at religion. One night at a bar, he made a bet with his friend Liam. "Bet you couldn't fool one of those church girls into falling for you," Liam said. Daniel smirked and replied, "Easy. Give me a month and I'll have her eating out of my hand." After scouring social media, Daniel discovered Grace through a mutual acquaintance. Her innocence intrigued him. To win the bet, he decided to infiltrate her church and pretend to be a Christian. One Sunday, Daniel showed up at Grace's church. His good looks and confident demeanor caught everyone's attention. After the service, he introduced himself to Grace, feigning an interest in faith. "I'm new here. Your singing was incredible. How do you hit those notes?" Grace blushed, flattered by his attention. She offered to show him around the church and introduce him to others. Over the next few weeks, Daniel carefully crafted his persona, mimicking the churchgoers around him. He played the part perfectly, quoting scriptures, attending every service, Bible study, and youth group meeting, and impressing everyone with his dedication. Daniel's charm quickly won Grace over. He took her on thoughtful dates, picnics in the park, stargazing, and quiet evenings at coffee shops. He asked questions about her faith, her dreams, and her life, making her feel seen, valued, and loved. In one of her diary entries, Grace wrote, "Daniel is wonderful. He says he's new to faith, but wants to grow closer to God. I think he might be the one God sent for me." Her friends and family, though cautious, were happy to see her so joyful. Sarah warned her to take things slow, but Grace was convinced Daniel was genuine. After weeks of dating, Daniel began pushing boundaries. During a quiet night at his apartment, he kissed her passionately and suggested they take their relationship to the next level. Grace hesitated, reminding him of her vow to remain pure until marriage. "I love you, Grace. God brought us together. Don't you trust me?" Daniel asked. Confused and torn, Grace prayed for guidance but felt her resolve weakening. She shared her doubts with Sarah, who urged her to stand firm. After each date, Daniel continued pressuring Grace using manipulative words, saying, "If you really love me, why can't you trust me?" One evening, Daniel's persistence paid off. He told Grace he couldn't wait any longer and guilted her into thinking she was pushing him away by holding back. Overwhelmed by her feelings for him, she gave in, believing it was an act of love. But things changed almost immediately. Daniel became distant, canceling dates and ignoring her messages. A week later, Grace found herself crying alone in her room when she received a text from Sarah. It was a screenshot of a conversation between Daniel and Liam. "Bet won. Church girl fell for it. Took long enough. Honestly, they're all so gullible. I'm done playing holy." Grace was heartbroken. "How could I have been so foolish?" she wailed. When Grace confronted Daniel with trembling hands and tears in her eyes, he laughed. "Did you really think this was love?" he sneered. "You're just another gullible little church girl." Daniel left Grace humiliated, broken, and carrying a secret. She was pregnant. Weeks after Daniel's betrayal, Grace started feeling nauseous and fatigued. A trip to the doctor confirmed her worst fear. She was pregnant. Overwhelmed with guilt and shame, Grace broke the news to her parents. Her mother, Laura, broke down in tears, heartbroken for her daughter's pain, while her father, Martin, struggled with anger, but quickly realized that Grace needed support, not judgment, and embraced her with love. "God's grace is bigger than this," Martin said. "We'll get through it together." The news spread through the church like wildfire. Some members supported her, offering prayers and encouragement, while others whispered and judged her harshly. Grace felt the sting of their disapproval, but clung to her faith. During a Sunday service, Grace stood before the congregation and confessed her situation. "I've sinned. I have made mistakes. but I'm here asking for forgiveness and strength. I've fallen, but I believe God can redeem me. I know God's love is greater than my failure. Her bravery earned the respect of many, though some remained critical. Sarah stood by her side, defending her against gossip. Despite the challenges, Grace resolved to keep her baby and continue pursuing her dream of becoming a surgeon. With her parents' support, she was able to get through her pregnancy and her studies. When her son Noah was born, Grace felt a renewed sense of purpose. She saw him as a symbol of God's grace and a reminder of her resilience. She juggled part-time jobs, school, and parenting with the support of her parents and Sarah. The road wasn't easy. Grace faced sleepless nights, financial struggles, and judgment from others. But she never gave up. She graduated college with honors and earned a scholarship to medical school. During her final year of medical school, Grace met Ethan Matthews, a kind-hearted lawyer who shared her faith and admired her resilience. They met at a charity event where Ethan was volunteering to provide legal aid to underprivileged families. Over time, their friendship blossomed into love. Ethan respected Grace's boundaries and admired her as a mother. For the first time since Daniel, Grace felt valued and cherished. 2 years after their wedding, they welcomed a baby girl, Emily. Grace marveled at how God had restored her life, giving her a loving husband and a beautiful family. Years later, Grace was a practicing surgeon when the past came crashing back. A man involved in a severe car accident was rushed into the ER. As she reviewed the chart, her breath caught Daniel Carter. Seeing him broken and vulnerable stirred conflicting emotions. She wrestled with bitterness, anger, and an intense desire to walk away. Alone in her office, Grace prayed, "God, why now? After everything he did, why do I have to face him again?" As she prayed, memories of Christ's forgiveness flooded her heart. She knew what she had to do. When Grace entered the operating room, her hands were steady and her heart was resolved. She performed the surgery with skill and compassion, saving Daniel's life. Days later, Daniel woke to find Grace sitting by his bedside. He was ashamed, unable to meet her eyes. "I didn't deserve this," he murmured. "No," Grace replied, her voice steady. "But neither did I deserve the grace God showed me. I forgave you because I've been forgiven." Daniel broke down, overwhelmed by her kindness. With tears streaming down his face, Daniel asked if he could see Noah and be part of his life. Grace agreed to let Daniel be part of Noah's life, but she set firm boundaries. At first, Daniel was hesitant, unsure how to connect with his son. But with time, he began to change. He took Noah to the park, buying him ice cream, and spending time with him at his home. Soon the father and son began to develop a close bond. Later, Noah got to meet Daniel's side of his family, his grandparents, uncles, aunts, and cousins. Noah strived in all the love and attention he was receiving from his newfound relatives. Through Grace's unwavering kindness, Daniel started attending church and eventually gave his life to Christ. He apologized to Grace and her family, seeking to make amends for his past. Years later, Grace stood before a packed church, sharing her testimony. Ethan sat in the front row, holding Emily, while Noah sat beside him, smiling proudly. "God took my pain and turned it into purpose," she said. "He taught me that forgiveness isn't for the other person, it's for your own freedom. And through that forgiveness, even the hardest hearts can be redeemed. I stumbled, but he picked me up. And today I stand here as proof that no mistake is too big for his redemption." The congregation erupted in applause. Many moved to tears. Even those who had once judged her embraced her story of hope and resilience. Among the congregation sat Daniel, now a humble and faithful man, bowing his head in gratitude. Grace's journey wasn't just about overcoming betrayal, it was about rediscovering her faith, her strength, and her purpose. Through God's grace, she not only survived but thrived, becoming an inspiration to everyone around her. Life can break us, but God heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. Grace's story reminds us that no matter how far we fall, God's love is greater. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to give the video a thumbs up and subscribe for more. Remember, love is free,